I've been building a deck around the bus, and today the weather is not playing ball. It's actually sunny at the moment, but it's sunny, and then this really freezing cold wind will come and it will rain a lot. I reckon it's the coldest day I have ever felt in this country. It's pretty grim, but that's all right. I'm getting on with it.
If you're wondering why am I building a deck around a bus, it's because we don't intend to drive this anywhere. We bought this land a couple of years ago and I wanted to live on it immediately so we didn't have to pay rent. We did look into buying a tiny house, but that would have taken me quite a long time to build, and buying one was hugely expensive. This bus cost less than a tiny house trailer, and we were able to move in almost immediately.
The section behind me that I've just finished is actually pretty straightforward. And then as we get into this area with these posts, it starts to get a little bit tricky, mainly because the posts are round, so everything needs to be cut out. But I sort of enjoy doing tricky stuff for some reason. Anyway, what I've done so far is I've blocked it out, which gives something for the boards to rest on. And now I'm going to come through and get a jigsaw, I think, and just cut out some of these boards so they fit around the posts.
The bus is around 10 metres or 33 feet long, so it's similar in size to a tiny house, albeit with a much lower roof. Scribing around these posts is pretty easy. I find a carpenter's pencil is really useful here. Carpenter's pencils are elliptical, not round. One side is 1/2 inch and the other 1/4. I'll rest the thicker edge against the post and that will give me a 1/2 inch line to scribe to. Here I need to cut out more than 1/2 inch, and so I'm using a scrap of wood as an offset. There are much more sophisticated ways to trace outlines, such as dedicated scribing jigs, but I'm building a deck here. As someone once said, we're not building a piano, but the box it came in. I found the quickest way to install decking boards is to break it down into stages. Firstly, I mark out where the screws will go, so I have a straight and even screw pattern. Next, I put the screws in place, and finally I cinch the boards together with an even gap before screwing them into place. This deck is going to be pretty big, and that's a deliberate move. A bus is a small area to live in, so I want our other areas to feel really spacious. I built a large outbuilding for our shower and our toilet, and it's great to have that extra room. I want to do the same with the deck. I plan to have an outdoor kitchen and a large corner sofa, so we have a big area to relax in. I'm also going to add a wood-fired bathtub. Scribing a piece of wood at both ends is really tricky, but scribing just one end is easy. I just cut the scribe end first and then do a straight cut. I'm staggering the straight cut so they don't all end up on the same joist.
I just had to stop because it was hailing, bits of hail this big. I don't think I've ever experienced weather this erratic in my whole life. Every few minutes this blows over, there'll be some crazy amount of rain or hail or wind or whatever, and then it clears, back to sun, back to rain. It's bloody annoying, particularly when all of your toys? There's a Freudian slip. I think I'd better put some things away. I bought these posts kind of by accident, really. They were from the timber yard. It was a miscommunication. I was expecting square kind of posts, and these round poles turned up, and I thought, oh, I'll be fine, we'll get on with it. But it's actually been really tricky. I mean, you can see just obviously scribing out the deck is one example, but like every single bit of the way they've been tricky, because you know, if you want to attach a bit of timber, then you need to sort of cut this flat so it's got a surface. You're never quite sure whether to measure from which part. Do you go from the center, do you go from the edge, because they're round and they change all the way up. So anyway, they've been really difficult to work with, but now they're in, I actually quite like them. They're beginning to look like, I don't know, it reminds me of something from a sort of a cowboy film from the 1850s, like a, I don't know, this is some sort of saloon or something like that. It's quite cool. I think it's going to look better when all of the boards are in, so I'm going to crack on with that.
Not long after moving in, I decided to build a roof over the bus, and this has been amazing. The bus is way cooler in the summer, and in the winter the rain doesn't beat down directly on the roof, so it's quieter and there are no leaks. Another advantage is it gives somewhere to mount the solar panels, a big surface area to collect rain from, and it will also give shelter to about half of the deck. I'm dressed for yesterday's weather here. This is horrible. I'm going to go and change.
I'm spacing these boards pretty close together. I'm using a gap of about 3mm, which is, I think, 1/16, maybe a bit more than 1/16 of an inch. And I'm just using these little packers to kind of guide me, or I'll sometimes use a nail that I know is 3mm. It's difficult to get the spacing right. You sort of want the smallest gap you can, but if you go too small and then the wood expands, you end up with just a complete mess. So I'm kind of hedging my bets here and going as small as I think that I can get away with. This timber's actually wet because it's been treated, so theoretically it should, I mean, it might shrink a bit or it might do nothing. When it's dry, if you get kiln dried wood, dried wood is definitely going to expand as soon as it gets wet, so you need a bigger gap for that, but I reckon I'll get away with 3mm. We'll see.
I didn't want the bus to be resting on the wheels, as this means the bus wobbles around on the suspension when you are walking around inside. I jacked up the bus and put blocks under it. The bus is pretty solid now, but it does mean that the bus door is pretty high up. I've built the deck to be the same level as the door. That means I need a couple of steps to get down to ground level. I want the lowest step to match up perfectly with the gravel pathway I made. The gravel pathway leads to our outdoor shower, so it gets a lot of use. It's really annoying walking with clean feet from the shower and then having to walk across a muddy slope to get back to the bus. Putting these steps in is going to change all that. Most of the deck has floor joists fixed over the top of the bearers. For these steps, I'm fitting the floor joists between the bearers to give me a lower level. The joists are held up with steel joist hangers.
I'm working on this lower level step this morning. So I've chosen one post, which is going to be my kind of reference guide. And then the rest of them, I'm just kind of like packing out the wood with little offcuts and things like that, just to bring it up to the correct level. Once all four are level, I'll screw them in.
I'm notching out this post so one 2x6 will be fully supported, the second only partially, and I'll secure it with two coach bolts with large square washers. For the ground screws, the bearers sit in a saddle and I'm screwing these into place with large coach screws.
It's raining again. It just won't stop. We're getting there with the deck. All the framing's done. The steps are finished. I've just got to put down the rest of the boards. And now I'm thinking next week I'll either get on with the hot tub, maybe a wall at the far end. Not sure yet. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you next week.